Welcome, Samuel Nesan, our first international visitor.
Hey Martin, it's a joy being with you.
Thank you. It's really good, exciting to have somebody new. The channel is quite new, but I've had about six interviews already, about 4 or 5 over the weekend, all local players in Edinburgh. And I think you actually have a bit of history in Edinburgh and Scotland, don't you?
Yes, I've been there. I've played with some of the players there in Edinburgh, and also we went sparring with the national team once in Glasgow in Scotland as well. So
Did you?
that was fun. Yes.
And how did you end up in Dundee? I noticed that you're on the Facebook page for having done coaching in Dundee at some point. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I went over to Dundee and we sparred with some of the players there and did a bit of coaching, a bit on how to uh, techniques that we use in Malaysia, some certain skills that we do, just introduce them to some of the players there.
Yes,
And that was fun
fantastic.
in Dundee. Yeah.
And how long were you in Scotland for?
I was in Scotland. I've been to Scotland, I think, about 3 times already. And each time it's about a couple of weeks. I come there usually for visitation. Yeah, but
Is it?
can't help playing badminton every time I'm there.
That's good. So your rackets are with you all the time, are they?
Oh yes.
And now you're in the States at the moment. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. I'm in the States at the moment. Yeah, I'm furthering my studies here.
What are you studying?
Yeah, I'm working on my first my master's in theology and hopefully transiting into my PhD in my master's in theology and my PhD in apologetics, which is really Christianity and the defense of Christianity.
Wow.
That's my full-time job.
That's wow. And how long have you been doing that for? Have you been over there since for a while? Last January, did you say?
Yes, I moved to the US last January, but yeah, this is something that I've been studying for many years now. So I think the first time I started studying theology was in a seminary, was back in 2008. So this is my 13th year, I
Wow.
guess,
You
since I
are
started.
you are literally a professional student now.
I did have
That's
breaks every now and again, but funny story, I actually was in Scotland when I was graduating with my master's from my previous seminary. So I didn't attend my graduation because I was in Scotland.
oh,
So that's an
really.
interesting story.
Okay, let's start with some questions. So your full name, please.
Yeah, Samuel Nason. Yeah,
That's your full name. No middle names at all.
no middle names at all. That's
No
it.
middle names at all. Good. And your age?
Yeah, I'm going to be turning 32 soon.
32. Nice. And your home area. So where were you born, first of all?
I was born in Petaling Jaya, which is a town in Malaysia, quite a prominent town in Malaysia. It's about 20 minutes, 30 minutes from the capital of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. So
Right.
that's where I was born.
North or south? Where is it? North or south?
This is in Peninsular Malaysia, dead center.
Really in the center of the island, right? And so I was quite interested to know. Obviously, there's a lot of sports that people do around the world, and obviously in America they have various sports, and the UK have mostly football, rugby, cricket. What I was just interested to know what you think. Why? Obviously, badminton's such a massive thing in Malaysia, is it? Does every what when you if you walk down the street, how many people would play badminton, and how many people would play football, and that kind of thing? What do you think of that?
Well, badminton in Malaysia is just packed. I mean, if you go to the badminton courts in Malaysia, you just can't get courts, especially after 6, 7 p.m. in the
Really?
evening. They're fully booked out. And the way it's quite different actually in Scotland and the different parts of the world that I've been to, England, France, and so forth. In Malaysia, you have certain badminton court, places where you play badminton, and they are just dedicated for badminton. It's not quite the same in Scotland. The courts are multi-purpose. The nets are usually ones that you move away. Badminton is just it's just for badminton, and sometimes you have places where you have about 20 to 30 courts. And when you
Oh,
hit about 6 p.m., 7 p.m., they are full. And the thing is, you actually have some of these courts. Some of them is just opposite one another. For example, in where I was born in Petalinga, you have a place called New Vision, and then right across the road you have a place called Challenger, and
oh,
they have about the same number of courts, and they're always full.
wow.
So
And what
everybody
kind of
loves badminton in
population?
Malaysia.
What kind of population would your town have, and how many? How many? So those 20 courts, are they all full? Is that
Towards the evening, they're all full. It'll be a miracle to find an empty cot before, I think, midnight or 11 o'clock at night. So
wow?
typically, they're all full during the evenings. They're pretty empty during the day. But the population is about 32 million, I believe, in Malaysia.
Right.
And again, exactly how much are they in the vicinity where I am, which is the capital
Yes.
in Kuala Lumpur? I guess maybe a million or so, or maybe I mean maybe a million, 2 million. I don't know, but many people come there. But I think many of them play badminton. Badminton is probably the number two sport in Malaysia next to football, or as Americans here like to call it, soccer.
Soccer.
But yeah.
And how do you feel about
Learn what football is. I'm just
that's?
kidding.
And how do you feel? No, it's soccer, yeah. And how do you feel about? Let's go. I'm going to go back to my questions if it's okay. So that's your area. What did you say it was called? What was it called? Pattaya? Did you say?
Petaling Jaya. Pattaya is a place in Thailand.
How do you spell Pattaya? How do you spell that, please?
Petaling is Petaling.
Patalan. Okay. No, that's fine. I'll do a bit of research on that. That's all I wanted to know. So, do you have any brothers or sisters, Samuel?
No, I'm an only child. My mother's
You.
Christian name is Mary, and my father's name is Joseph. And I'm not making any
Wow.
implications there, but it's been
Wow.
Christmas just last month. So
Divine. Is that what that's called? Divine.
no.
So, can I ask what age we were? Obviously, everybody plays badminton. What age did you very, very first start? When do you remember the occasion when you first played badminton? Where were you when you played it? Where did you play?
Absolutely. I can still remember it vividly even until today. When I started was actually 9 years old. My I lived in an apartment, and the people there used to ask us to join and play badminton downstairs. And my dad wouldn't let me go for one simple reason. He didn't want me making a fool of myself because I had no idea how to play. So on my ninth birthday, this was on my ninth birthday. That's when he bought me a racket, and we actually went down and played that day. And I couldn't play at all. So that's where it started.
That you've jumped onto a question, which is, do you remember what your first racket was?
Yeah, it was a brand called Shabazz, I think, which was it was really a cheap racket. I remember my second racket was a Carlton, so
Was
that
it
helps.
what was that first name again? Shabbat. What was it called?
Shabazz, Syabas, but I think that brand doesn't exist now. So
No, that's good. Shabal. Did you say Sybal?
S, the last one is
Sybal. Yeah. Oh, is it
and no,
B
Syabas,
Syab
As,
Syabis? Cool. That's brilliant.
Shabazz.
That's isn't that amazing? Then your second, and how long in between the first and the second racket was it? How long did he? Well, obviously, you bought the first racket thinking, I don't know if he'll like it. If he doesn't like it, I probably won't buy him another racket. Well, how long did it take him to realize that you got another racket before you got the expensive one?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it was in Christmas that I
Was
actually
it?
got my second racket. Yeah, it was a Carlton Aerogear. I still remember it. I believe I still have it till today.
Did
Yeah,
you
in
really?
back home in Malaysia. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. Age? What age were you first played? That's 9. Why and where did you start? So when you said you went downstairs to play, where were you? Talking in a garden, in a yard? What was it? Where did you play
So
when the neighbors downstairs?
we had an apartment,
Yes.
like a 3-story apartment, and in the bottom, I mean, sorry, when you get to the bottom of it, you go down the stairs. There were 2 badminton courts outdoor, and
Wow.
that's where they wanted to
Wow.
play. Yeah,
Wow. Is that really common in Malaysia? These outdoor courts because
absolutely.
the weather's so good,
It
right?
used to be.
Is it not so much now?
Not quite. It used to be common, but now because you have facilities, so much of facilities to actual good courts,
Yes.
I think the outdoor courts are no longer a thing.
Is there no wind, Samuel, in
There
Malaysia?
is. There is. There is. It's not as bad as Scotland, though, I must say.
No, no, no,
Scottish wind
no.
is something else.
Yeah, it's Scotland made the wind, of course. So, so why and where did you start playing? And that was so your next door neighbours were the influence, were they, for you starting to play? Do you remember the
Not quite
first
literally next door, but it was the neighbors in,
downstairs?
in the in the in the apartment. That's right.
Do you remember any? Do you remember the names of the first people you ever played with?
Uh Not really. No, not really. But I remember one of the guys that was asking for tournament. It's a
Mm,
guy called Logan, I believe, if I was not
Logan.
mistaken. But that's about it.
He was very local to you. That's nice. No, that's good. Do you remember the name? So when you obviously started playing, when did you start going to these halls outside? When did you start playing? So from 9 you started and got your first racket. When did you start going to coaching or go to play in a hall, that kind of thing?
so my dad used to play with me every day.
Right.
And what happened is that I think I began beating him pretty soon. And I think or at least came close to beating him. So
Mm,
he figured that coaching might be a good idea. So
mm.
um, there was this former national player in Malaysia, a lady that was coaching in my school indoor. And so he paid, I still remember how much it was a month. It was 30 ringgit, which would be something like $6, sorry, £6 for a month,
Nice.
and once a week, and that was so cheap back then. And of course, yeah, I coached with her for about a year until I was about 10. And when I went 10, then my dad moved me to a different club, a proper club, and
Yeah.
then I used to train about 4 times a week.
Did you? For how long? And you know, when you used to go play with your dad, how long did you play for? Was it at night kind of thing, or after he finished
Evenings,
work, he would come home from work and say, "Come on, let's go and play some badminton." That's nice, huh?
yeah, that's evening. Usually in the evening is when he would play. So my dad is
Yeah.
a pastor, and he had
Nice.
time sometimes during the day as well. So we would play during the day, and mainly in the evenings. But yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. And I guess you could, because he was at home, I suppose you could play for hours on end. Did you play? Was that common? Did people play for hours and hours and just say, "Come on, let's go and play badminton"? Was that it? Was that it? Were you
For me, I had
unusual? I
schooling.
suppose. Yes.
Yeah, for me, I had schooling, so I think schooling took up most of my time. But whenever we had free time, we went and played. But we tried to play every day, at least for
Nice.
an hour.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
absolutely. Isn't that amazing? And you weren't unusual. You weren't unusual. People.
No, no. But what was unusual though was that there was this guy I remember in the apartment that I could not beat.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And what my dad used to do is he used to take me further away, and where we could train in secret. And so that when I come back
Wow.
and play with them, I'll be able to beat them. My dad took it quite seriously.
What was his name? What was his
So
name? What was his name?
Joseph, and I
Joseph.
mean his name is Nason, which is my last name, and
Really?
his last name is Joseph.
Yeah. Wow. Joseph. That's your dad. No. What was the person that you couldn't beat? What was his name?
I think his name was Magendran. It's an
McGindran.
Indian name.
No, that's
Yeah,
nice. I
you
like it.
pronounced it quite well, actually. Yes.
McGindran. No, that's brilliant. The name of your first club.
The first real club was called Golden Eagle.
Brilliant. Golden Eagle. I like that. I like that name. It's got a bit of, isn't it? It's brilliant. And what's the most when you played back then? Did most people play singles, Samuel, or was it doubles or mixed, or did the when you've got so many courts, was a lot of people playing singles, or what was it like?
Yes.
Was it most
Mainly it
people?
was singles, but because there were lots of players as well, you would play half court for a lot of times. Very rarely you get a chance to play full court. So, but we started out playing half court and full court. But what I used to do is because I was living in an apartment, I used to keep stroking on the wall. So I would get my reflexes in the wall, every day
Good.
just playing on the wall. Yeah.
Really?
So that was
And
yes,
did you play with plastic or with the feathers straight away?
with the feathers straight away. We needed
Really?
plastic.
Really?
Yes. Yeah,
And
it annoys me. Okay, I love Scotland. Don't get me wrong, Martin. I love Scotland, but the plastic
yeah,
feathers.
terrible. I agree. I agree. But you could buy them cheaply, probably in Malaysia. Were they expensive in relative terms? How much would a tube of feather shuttles? Because everybody's playing, I guess. How much would it? What kind of shuttles were they as well? Do you remember what brand or anything they were, Samuel?
Yes, I remember there was. I mean, we used to play. There was a brand called Sea Lion back in the day in Malaysia. It had a little red sticker on it,
Yeah.
and that used to be quite popular. I think it cost about 3 ringgit a shuttle. I remember, which was. I mean, if you were to put that in pounds, that would be 60 cents.
Hold
I
on,
guess.
hold on a minute. Hold on. Can I go back? How was it per shuttle? What do you mean? Where would you buy one shuttle? Could you buy one shuttle?
Yes, you could. You would go.
Really?
I mean, any local grocery shop would sell it. Yeah.
No,
So
really?
yes, that's Malaysia.
You can go to this. Can I have two shuttles, please? That's
Yeah,
absolutely
and they would do that.
really. That's incredible.
They actually enjoy doing that because they would charge you a little bit more if you got the whole dozen. And for
Yeah.
us, we were new. The one shuttle would last you almost half a week, so
What?
it's a good investment.
They must. So tell me what condition the shuttles were in by the time you needed a new shuttle. How bad was that shuttle? would be how many feathers would have gone, and how they must have been terrible when you're starting off going through shuttles. They must have
Oh
been
yeah,
terrible. Yeah,
absolutely. You're absolutely right there, Martin. So I think that we change shuttles pretty not as much as we do now,
yeah,
but
good.
we could use one shuttle for the whole day, basically.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. So the name of your first club was Golden Eagle, right? Okay, that's great.
That's right.
Do you remember how much it cost and how often? How so when you booked the courts? How much did that cost, Samuel? A court when you went for an hour or 2 hours or so? Would you go for 1 hour or two? I don't know.
Normally we would go for 1 hour. Sometimes because it depends. If I was just playing with my dad, it would be an hour.
Yeah,
I remember at times it would cost as low as a pound, and it could go for an hour, and it could go sometimes as much as maybe £2.
really, that's
But
good,
that's about
isn't
it. It
it?
wouldn't go more than
Yeah,
that when I was younger. Yeah.
that's good. So I've got the shuttles. That's good. And when did you start your? Where did you go? You know, when you got coached. Obviously, you've played to a very advanced level. Where was your first coaching?
In my primary school, when I was 9 years old, with the former national player, that woman I was telling you about.
Wow, a national player was a
Yeah,
coach at a primary school.
that's right. I
That
mean, Malaysia, you just have lots of coaches everywhere. So
really, that isn't that amazing.
yeah.
And did you have to pay, or was it a school thing? I guess the school paid for it, and that was it, wasn't it?
No, we had to pay. It was
Did
about
you?
£6. Like I said, it was £6 a month.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. So that's coach. And what was the name of your first coach? Come
This
on.
is going to look really bad on me. I can't remember.
Ah,
Yeah.
Samuel, that's terrible. Do you
Because you see,
imagine
we don't call people by their names. We would just call them coach or something
Miss
like
or
that. So
Miss or something? Yeah, I guess, of course. So do you remember your first ever your tournament? Well, tell me what age were you? You know that chap that you went away and you really wanted to beat, and your dad took you away to get coaching, and you came back and you could
yes,
beat him. What age were you when you beat him? Do you remember? And do you remember? Do you remember? What interests me actually is when somebody I've got a friend who I play with, and I was playing singles with him, and he would beat me, and he would beat me, and he would beat me, and he would beat me. And I was apologetic. I'm saying, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. This is embarrassing. And I was getting closer. And no, no, man, I don't mind. I do not mind coming and playing with you. And I was getting closer and closer and closer. And he was really, I was apologetic. And Martin, I really don't mind. And I started to beat him. And after 2 times beating me, he didn't want to play anymore. He only wanted to play with me when he was going to win. As soon as he realized he was mostly going to lose. This was quite recently, actually. That was only about 2 years ago. And but it's interesting psychology of it. So that boy that you used to play against and beat, I guess he beat you all the time, and then you beat him, and I guess it was the same thing, right? He didn't want to play with you anymore because he was losing, right?
no, I mean, it's just the mindset was a little bit different when you're younger because we just kept playing because first of all, we very little people to play with sometimes. So
It's
I used to
brilliant,
play with
isn't it?
him back then. But once I started going for coaching and Golden Eagle and all that, of course we didn't have time to play. I
Yes.
began focusing in my first main tournament,
Did you?
and the first two were big for me. Were big.
Were they? And what was it? How did
Yeah.
you know? When because you did it professionally, right? You're a professional badminton player. Is that right?
I mean, I guess I mean I was more. I mean, I guess you could say. I mean, I was in the state team.
Yeah.
Of course, we were not getting paid to play. I mean, you just get paid allowances for training and all that. But
Really?
I'm not sure if you'd consider that professional because money wasn't a big thing back then. You were a state player.
You didn't have to work as well as play badminton. And what age were you then? I guess you were still at school, right? Or were you?
I started playing for the state Selangor when I was 12 years old.
Yeah, isn't it? Oh, yeah, yeah. How big was that team? How big is that team?
Well, so we had a lot of players in that team. I still remember that there were so many. I mean, there was about. I remember main squad boys singles under 12. We had 8 players, and we had probably the same thing in. I mean, we don't have singles or doubles. Main squad under 12, 8 guys, and about women. There were less girls, but I remember the batch that I was a really good batch because you had some crazy names in our batch. Zulfatli Zulkifli was in that batch. He went on to beat Victor Axelsen in the World Junior Championships and beat Kento Momota as well. I think he has an unbeaten record against Momota. Um, Eng Hui Lin, who was the same age with me, she went on to become World Junior Champion in mixed doubles. Tan Boon Hyung, who was also in that same team at that time, went on to become All England champion and World Championships runner-up. Also, one of the world's hardest smasher. I think he held the Guinness Book of Records for the world's
Did he?
fastest smash at one time.
Wow.
So that batch was that all in the same state team.
And this
There's a
is
lot
and
of good
this is
players at
and
that
this
time.
is this is before they're 18. This is before these players are 18. They're 12, 13, 14 years old. Isn't that
That's
absolutely
right.
incredible? That's absolutely.
That's right. Yeah.
And what is it you feel about Malaysia? Is it just the dedication to it that's different from other places where because it's so readily available, badminton. It's unlike here. It's it's piecemeal and that kind of thing. Just everybody over there play. I've never been, but I imagine it's just everywhere, right?
Yeah, badminton is everywhere in Malaysia. You'll be able to play badminton any part of, Peninsular Malaysia at least. I can't speak for East Malaysia. Not really visited your badminton courts there, but I would say that yeah, badminton is everywhere in Malaysia, and I think that the difference is the coaching as well. I think if you go for proper coaching, I do think there's a big difference in the way Scottish. I've seen people in the Scottish national team. There's a big difference in the way people were being coached here, and in Malaysia. In Malaysia, it's a lot. The focus is a lot on the skill,
Yeah.
on techniques, skill techniques. Over here, it's a lot more physical, and
Yeah,
I think
you
that's
think
maybe
so?
the difference between Asian players and European players.
Yeah, I had a very interesting conversation on the weekend with Douglas Walker, who's a 77-year-old coach in Scotland. 77, 72, I can't remember. Sorry, Douglas. Anyway, so he's an experienced coach, and when I asked him what he loves about the sport, he was talking about the finesse and the skill and the artsman and the winning of the point is below the net. It's not above the net. It's it's the drops, the deception, and he's just talking about how it really is an art. It's not all just in the power. And I'm not mad
Yes.
on. I was talking to another guest on the weekend. I'm not mad on drills, particularly on drills, because I find that you end up being quite predictable. If you practice a shuttle coming down in a certain place and playing it back to a certain place, you can't help but think it's going to become predictable. I'm sure it's not, but I just that's how I feel. I suppose that's me. But yeah, I suppose it's all about deception. And I mean these things. And how do you feel about trick shots and those kind of things going on nowadays? Do you like that stuff?
I mean, I think it's always nice to it's always nice to watch uh, trick shots and all these kind of things being played. Sorry, I was getting a notification there.
I see.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but I'll just turn this off. Sorry.
Okay.
It's always nice to have trick shots and all that being played, but I think that what you want to look for as a player is skill shots, and I think there's a big difference between that. I'll give you an example of what I mean.
Please.
For example, one of the things that you're training, we see a lot of players training everywhere, Europe, Asia, is you train for all those sharp shots, those drop shots, those tight net shots. But in a real game, if you're playing, especially if you're playing singles, if you're playing a really tight drop shot, uh, the return is going to be even tighter, and it's going to cause a lot of problems for you. So you don't want to play it too tight,
Yes.
unless of course you have a lot of your opponent is very far away. So you've got to use your skill and say, okay, I'm not going to play it too tight. I'm going to play it in the right angle because I'm anticipating if it comes here, his return is going to come closer to me, and that's going to allow me to do a different kind of a skill shot. To
Yes.
kind of change the rally around and find a weak shot. So you're always thinking 2, 3 points ahead.
Do you think it's
But
trying to
it's not
finish it
about
too quickly? Do you think it's trying to finish it too quickly is the problem?
I mean, I guess that could be one of it, but I think sometimes when many people are playing, especially when you learn and you try and master all the shots, you're not thinking about how to win the shot more than you're thinking about how to play a good shot. But good shots sometimes don't win you the point. You've got to think about how I finish the point.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Wow.
that's where the skills come in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's fascinating. Yeah, and that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I've lost my microphone. 1 second. Just come back. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, sorry about that. My headphones went off there.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so I'll go back to my questions. I'm conscious of time. 24 minutes. I'm loving this. Thank you, Sam. Were you coached? Yeah,
Sure.
I've got that. Do you remember your first ever tournament and trophy? Where was your first just briefly, first trophy? Do you remember your first ever trophy?
Oh,
And
man.
what age were you? What age do you think you were when you won a trophy?
Yeah, I think I remember the first one was actually in a tournament organized by Golden Eagle. I think I was 13 years old,
It's good.
and I won the men's doubles.
The men's doubles,
Yeah, I remember
really.
that was the first trophy, first tournament that I ever won.
Would you?
Um,
Going back to the next question. What was your first ever? What was your favorite event? Was it singles? When you obviously when you? I'm talking
yeah,
historical. when you're growing up?
Singles,
Singles.
yes,
Yeah, nice
absolutely.
work.
Singles is my favorite.
Man after my own heart. Who was your main competition growing up? What was that boy's name? Did you say that you couldn't beat? What was his name?
You mean the when I started out,
Yes, that you couldn't.
Magindran?
But that's the one. Thank you. What clubs do
Yeah.
you play? Okay, so do you go into the current stages then? So obviously you're traveling a lot and that kind of thing. Everywhere you go, you play badminton, do you? Do you take a racket with you all the time? Or how many rackets do you carry with you?
I've carried about four rackets. I mean, like when I came to the US, I carried four rackets with me, but I've given, I think, two away. I remember playing a tournament here in Austin as well, in Texas.
Hmm.
And after that, I gave the racket that I used away, yeah, to my one of my nephews who came to support me,
Oh,
who
that's fun.
deserved it, and he
That
started
that's
badminton
nice.
after that.
And
He was encouraging.
What do you play with?
Okay, so in that tournament, I used a Fleet racket.
Fleet. All right.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, Fleet. I love Fleet rackets. I love Protect rackets. I basically love those rackets. But if I'm playing doubles, a real proper doubles match, then I would want to use my favorite, of course, is the Yonex World Trick 90, I believe, is my favorite one.
Yeah, Voltric 90.
This
Yeah.
Yonex World Trick 80 or 90, I can't remember. It's the white one. That's the one I
Nice.
use.
Nice. I do. I'm a Yonex man myself, as you can see. So clubs you play with and how often you play. So do you when you're in the States, do you play off? Do you play every week now? When you're in America, just now, like?
No, I very rarely play here because I mean most of the time is spent focusing on my studies. But
Yeah.
I do
Wow.
try and play every now and again, maybe once or twice a month.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, I'm coming to it. So your current favorite racket? That's a Voltric 80 or 90. That's good. Thank you. What tension? So when you play, do you still play singles?
No, not anymore. I play doubles now, just because I'm lazy.
And how do you find a partner? Obviously, when you're traveling, where do you go? How do you manage to get a partner in the States? You know, when you go somewhere, do you just say, "I'm looking for a partner"? And are you what they call in Scotland a ringer? Are you a ringer? So somebody would say, "I've got my pal Sam coming along." All right, okay, that's good. Sam's a good guy. And are you the ringer? Are you in competition?
No, I mean, no, I just play for fun over here. I've stopped playing competitively, so I really
Okay.
don't mind. But I had a good partner over here. His name was Anis,
All right, nice.
and I enjoyed playing with him in Austin. Yeah, that was fun.
Austin, that's a nice one. Are you near Austin? Like, is that why you go there? Are you very near?
I'm not too far away from Austin. I'm about 4 hours away from Austin. Yeah.
That's far enough, Samuel. That's far
Okay.
enough.
Okay. So the thing is that I drove when I was in the UK. I drove from Birmingham, England, to Scotland in one day, Glasgow. But over here, 14 hours and you're still inside Texas. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, very good. So tension on your racket strings. What do you think? What's your tension of choice?
My current favorite is 29, 27. So I like to mix the tension up.
Or
Yeah,
29 that way and 27 that way.
that's right. Yeah.
Wow. And what kind of string? Do you mind? What do you
My
choose?
favorite, always my favorite, has been BG66.
Oh,
That's
really?
always been my favorite. But
Yeah.
although I may use BG65 if I'm just scared that the string will break.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That stuff's like fishing
BG66
twine.
goes away too easily. Yeah, I
What's your favorite string color?
have no favorite. Yeah, white, I guess.
Hey, I thought white. Yeah, nice one. Do you have family or anything that travel with you, or are you just on your own?
At the moment, I'm on my own. Yeah.
Yeah, good. What's your favorite event now? And does your partner? Do you feel it's good? Okay? I'm coming to the end now. I've just two more questions. Do you feel?
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously very sociable for you now. But do you feel very competitive now? Compared to when you were younger, how do you feel about competition now?
No, I mean I don't feel competitive at all because you've passed the stage. I remember when you play with certain players back then, the adrenaline rush and all that playing against them. For example, in 2012, I played Liu Darren in the Slango Open. Darren was, I think, top 10 in the world when I played him. So
Wow.
that I remember scoring 13 points in the second game, and I was really happy with that in men's singles. But uh, once you go past that, there's it's hard to build back the kind of motivation to try and do much. When you go to a tournament, you're just trying to have fun now. It
Yeah.
wasn't quite the same back then. Yeah.
I don't know. I had the same discussion with somebody the other day, and I just think that I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think you've just got to. There's a lot of players. I mean, I've spoken to a few people in their 60s and 70s that continue to play, and what they do is instead of judging themselves against people who are 19, 20 any longer, because they're not 19 and 20, you go to a different age group and you have a different
Yeah.
level. I mean, I think Dan Travers and people like that and around Scotland will tell you the same thing. You've just got to move up, and I hate to see amazing talent wasted because, and I was actually talking about myself where I used to go to coaching and there was a chap there that was exceptional. And I remember thinking to myself, I was talking about this yesterday, that you feel you'll never be as good as that. And do you know what? I'll never be as good as that. I will never beat those people. I will never be as good as that. So why bother? And it's a real waste and a real shame. I just think it's a long life, right? I mean, you're 32. You've got years ahead of you. So to think that you're not going to compete properly anymore, I think you've just got to go to. Do you not feel like going to the next level? So what's the age group? 32. It's the seniors thing, I suppose. If you went in a proper tournament of proper seniors, I guess what are those people that you played against now? Are they still as competitive now? You know, everybody's getting older, right? People that you grew up with, that you beat and fought with, they've got older as well, and they've had backs and shoulder problems and everything else, and family, and they've stepped out. Do you know a lot of people that you grew up with, and do you still play with them at all?
No, I mean I don't, but I mean certain friends like I have in Malaysia. I mean I could play with them every now and again.
Yeah.
I mean some of the guys that are still maintaining are the guys that are still in coaching.
Are they?
They've gone into coaching right now. Tan Boon Hyung has gone into coaching.
Yeah.
But for me, I think personally, I'm enjoying the game now.
Yeah, it's nice
I've taken the pressure off, and whenever I play, I just try my best to enjoy it.
to
But
enjoy
no
it.
more competitive for me. It just I don't think that doesn't, the excitement of competition is no longer there. Especially in your mind, if you know you could have played better than this at one time, you just don't feel the motivation to do that. But I got into commentating, and that was fun
Did you?
because
Yeah,
then
I
I get
like
to
that.
read. Yeah, I was commentating in Malaysia, so for Astro, the sports station. So that was fun. I guess that's something I enjoy doing because I can still think about the tactics and the techniques and what's going on, and still
Yeah, yeah,
make
you can.
use of that. So,
Yeah, yeah. And do you think that when you're coaching people, have you coached anybody that when you're coaching kids, do you go to tournaments with those kids and what's the newest? When you see talent coming through that kind of thing, is it the same as when you grew up? Is it do you still have the same level of talent coming through in Malaysia all the time? Or is it when do you go to those clubs still? When you go, do you still go to the halls at the Golden? Do you still go? When you go back to Malaysia, will you go there to your club?
no, I mean not Golden Eagle, but I mean I've become a close friend to New Gen, and I was looking at my T-shirt because I usually wear that T-shirt, but I was not wearing that today.
Right.
Sorry, it used to be called New Gen. Now they've partnered with Tan Boon Hyung, and it's TBH Badminton Academy. And when I go back, I will go back to them in TBH Badminton Academy, and I'll probably play with them because it'll be fun to play with Tan Boon Hyung now
Yeah.
that
Oh,
he's
yeah.
gone into retirement after that. I wouldn't want him attacking against me with that kind of world record smash. Uh, but yeah, it'll be
Fantastic.
fun.
That's and the very final question I've got. We're just about out of time. Perfect timing. What is it that you love about badminton over other sports?
I guess badminton just enables you to use every part of your body. I guess it's not just the leg; it's the hands, the eyes. I mean, yeah. In badminton, I think most people don't realize that you even have to train your eyes. For example, and what I mean by that, I'm using that metaphorically, because when you start out, the shuttle seems very fast, and your eyes are just not used to seeing the shuttle at that speed. But the more and more you train, you find that the same shuttle is in the same speed, but your eyes find it very slow. And you've got time to look at it and process what you will do, three different routes, debate which is the best action, and then make that shot. But it's interesting that your mind-eye coordination, everything works out. I think that's what I find really fun about badminton. It's that reflex, it's the thinking, the skill. Yeah, but again, I may be biased because badminton was the only sport that I played. So
No, there's obviously a reason for that. It's the speed, really, and the finesse. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
yes. Oh, I love the speed. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Samuel, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. And hopefully, we're giving some juniors some inspiration to play the game. And it's interesting to see what it's like around the world playing badminton. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.